With practice and with the refinement and the inputs from the mentors, this is the answer which he wrote in his last Samachar Manthan. See, with the good presentation, with the good knowledge and good structure, you may get the average 5 marks in any answer. But if you add the presentation aspect to it, that will give you that extra 0.5 marks. The violence for women starts right before the birth, from a female infanticide. So from before the birth to the old age. So this is the level of the creativity and innovation that toppers brings. That makes all the difference. It's not just the content or knowledge or information.
I started my full-fledged preparation after I joined the Ultimate Assessment Program at Civilsdaily.
There is a 12-month strategy which I have done on Civilsdaily platform only.
I reached out to the Civilsdaily team.
Civilsdaily.
Current affairs में Civilsdaily.
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 With Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily. Civilsdaily. To Civilsdaily.
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 Civilsdaily. Civilsdaily.
A mentorship program of Civilsdaily, and that did help me a lot.
Hello aspirants. For success in UPSC, it is your answer writing skills that are most crucial. It is this 1750 marks of the mains that is going to determine your rank as well as your subsequent postings. But the answer writing is not just the reflection of your knowledge, but the expression of the artist that is hidden within you. And that is why answer writing is considered as an art. Now, it is considered as an art because, like any art, it has 5 fundamental principles which are required to be mastered in order to excel into that particular field. Now, just like an answer writing or any other art forms, these are the 5 principles which will determine the level of the mastery that you are going to get. The first is the composition and structure, which involves the process and the methods. The second, the aesthetic appeal or the presentation, which involves the symbolism. The third is the creativity and innovation, which establishes your own style. Without the creativity and innovation, no artist has ever become great. Without stamping his own authority or own style, no artist has ever become great. Last, or the second last, is the learning and knowledge. So even with the aptitude or even with the inborn talent, if it is not accompanied with the continuous learning and the knowledge, you cannot achieve the mastery in that particular art. And same goes with the answer writing. And last is the practice and refinement. So without the practice and without the continuous refinement into your art forms, your art form cannot become great. So these 5 fundamental principles applicable to the other art forms like music, dance, painting are also applicable to your answer writing. Now let's go one by one. The first one is the composition and structure. It involves the method. It involves the process or the steps. For example, let's take the example of a painting. So for every painting, there is a proper process or there is a method which you have to follow for a good painting. Let's take this example. So the first step involves the rough sketch, where you simply highlight the boundaries or simply give the shape to the painting. And throughout this 5-step process, you get the final product, which is your final painting. And the same is applicable to your answer writing. So for every answer, there is a proper structure which involves introduction, main body, and conclusion. For every point that you are going to write involves the subheading, the elaboration, and the substantiation aspect. So this process or this structure you have to follow to write the good answer. Let's take the example of the answer of Animesh Pradhan. So this is the very first answer that he wrote with us in 2022. This is the first Samachar Manthan that he wrote. If you see, you cannot properly segregate the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion, or the proper structure of the art. So his introduction is stretched up to 1.5 page. Then without properly segregating the subheading, he has moved on to the points. Within the points also, he lacks the subheading or the proper dimension coverage. Within the points also, there is no segregation of the subheading, the elaboration, and the substantiation. Right. But with practice and with the refinement and the inputs from the mentors, this is the answer which he wrote in his last Samachar Manthan. So if you see, there is a proper structure into his answer. There is a proper introduction, the segregation of the first demand with the heading, and then the points. Within points also, if you can see, there is a proper subheadings for every points. Similarly, the second demand is properly segregated with the subheading and the way forward addressed with the points. So this not only increased his dimension coverage, but also provide a systematic structure to his answer. Right. Then the second aspect is the aesthetic appeal. That is the presentation. Right. So it's not just your knowledge. Answer writing is not just about dumping of the knowledge or dumping of the information. It needs to have the aesthetic appeal in order to impress the evaluator. Same goes with the other art forms. It's not just your skills. Let's take the example of the dance forms. It's not just your skills in Bharatanatyam or Kathakali or any other art forms. Okay, it's not just the movement of your body, but also your expressions, your attire, and your overall stage presence that makes a good dancer. Let's take the example. So this is the example of the Bharatanatyam. You can clearly see the proper attire, the expressions, and the makeup. Same goes with the Manipuri dance. And same goes with the Kathakali. Right. Similarly, in your answer writing, if you see, this is the answer written by Aditya Srivastav. With these answers, he became an IPS. So these answers are not bad in itself, but it took him to the level of the IPS. So these answers have proper structure. Okay, these answers have proper content. These answers shows his knowledge depth, but it didn't give that aesthetic appeal or the presentation. That's why he became an IPS and not an IS. But this is the answer of the same Aditya Srivastav, written in 2023, okay, which made him AR1. So you can clearly see the difference with respect to the presentation. There is proper underlining to the keywords. There is proper underlining to the subheadings, and there is proper visibility to the each part of the point. So this is his subheading, this is his elaboration, and this is his substantiation part. It is the example. So with this proper structure, accompanied by proper presentation and knowledge, which gives him the extra marks. Okay, so the presentation aspect is the crucial aspect in order to enhance your rank. See, with the good presentation, with the good knowledge and good structure, you may get the average 5 marks in any answer. But if you add the presentation aspect to it, that will give you that extra 0.5 mark. And for 1750 marks, you write around 79 answers of the GS. And if you increase 0.5 mark in the each, because that will increase your marks by around 40 marks. Okay, so that's the importance of the presentation or the aesthetic appeal. Next is the creativity and innovation. So every great artist has his individual stamp or has his individual style with respect to that particular art form. Okay, it is his style which gives him recognition and which makes his or which builds his legacy. Because same thing with the answer writing. You need to have your own creative ideas and innovative ideas which helps you improving the presentation aspect of your answer. Now, if you see in cricket, if you see you all know the example of Sky. So his scoop shot, because that is the trademark Surya Kumar Yadav shot. Similarly, the Mona Lisa painting of Leonardo da Vinci. Because similarly, the sculpture made by the Michelangelo, because which is his trademark sculpture, the sculpture of Adam. And same thing goes with the answer writing. This is the answer of AR1 Ishita Kishore, where she has used the map in order to highlight the regional distribution of the folk art. Similarly, this is Animesh, where he has used the diagrammatic representation to highlight the interlinking between the trinity of the corruption. Same thing with answers of Shubham Kumar, AR1, where he has again used the diagrammatic representation to highlight the temporal aspect, right? So various forms of violence, he has shown it using the temporal approach and the diagrammatic representation. So the violence for women starts right before the birth, from female infanticide. So from before the birth to the old age. This is his creativity and innovation, which gives the lasting impression on the evaluator and which fetches you the extra marks. So this is the level of the creativity and innovation that toppers brings. That makes all the difference. It's not just the content or knowledge or information, right? Then the fourth aspect is the core aspect of the learning and knowledge, right? That is, see, you get around 5 marks for a good above average answer. But to get into the top 10, you need that extra 0.5 to 1 marks, right? So these marks come with your structuring, presentation, and creativity and innovation. But to get these 5 marks, you need knowledge and you need continuous practice. So knowledge brings the depth into your answers. And to get that core 5 marks, you need the knowledge, that is the content, right? So if you see, this is the importance of the knowledge and practice. Let's take the example of Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. If you have read his autobiography, you will find his training schedule and the hard work that he has put on daily for 5 years on daily basis. He has to practice for around 6 to 7 hours on a daily basis just to get the mastery into the music, right? Similarly, the same level of the knowledge should be reflected into your answers. For example, this is the answer of Aditya Srivastav. Okay. If you see with respect to the structure and presentation, it is the same. But if you go or analyze it at the deeper level, you will find the content depth. For example, this particular answer has the reference to a book. It has the example for substantiation. It has the reference of the committees it has the reference of the global best practices along with the dimension coverage. And it also has the interlinking with the history, right? So this shows the depth of the knowledge that he possesses, right? So along with the structure, along with the presentation, and along with your innovation and creativity, the most fundamental aspect is the knowledge or the content depth that you need to show into your answers, right? Then the last is the continuous practice and refinement, right? So even if you have the knowledge, even if you have the creative ideas with respect to the innovations, with respect to presentations, and even if you have the theoretical understanding with respect to the different kinds of the demands of the question, and with respect to the structuring of the answer, without practice, you won't be able to attempt all the 20 questions in given time with proper reflection of the 4 core principles. Now, if you see this, right? So this is the example of the Kalri Payattu, which is the martial art from Kerala. It requires around 12 years to master Kalri Payattu. Similarly, Bharatanatyam takes the practice of around 5 to 8 years. So it is the consistency and the continuous process of practice, refinement, learning, and then again practice. So without that process and without the consistency in your practice, you can't get the mastery in your art. That's why you need to have the continuous answer writing, the refinement, that is through the analysis and the discussion with the mentor, and then applying those learnings into your next paper. So if you see, these are the total tests attempted by Animesh Pradhan. Okay, so we have the Samachar Manthan where we take the weekly tests, and throughout the year, Animesh Pradhan had written 38 Samachar Manthan tests, and each test contained 10 questions. So in an year, he wrote 380 answers of Samachar Manthan itself. Okay, then after he shifted to the MEP where he attempted around 10 full-length tests, and later on after the prelims, he attempted around 6 full-length tests, right? And every week on the same day the paper is uploaded, he used to write and submit his answer copy. Without this continuous practice, or without the feedback and application of those learnings, you can't master the art of answer writing. So this is the first answer of the Animesh, right? So this was week 36 of 2022. This was the very first answer that he wrote. If you see, there is no structure, there is no presentation, there is no innovation into this answer. Even with respect to the content, in his entire answer in 3 pages, he was able to write, or he was able to cover only 8 points, right, for a 15 marker question. So introduction was too lengthy. Then there was a limited dimension coverage, and there is the absence of the substantiation, that is the data and examples. Similarly, in the way forward, he lacked the proper committee recommendations or the global best practice, which we saw into the answers of Aditya Srivastava. Then the conclusion was too lengthy and devoid of any keyword, right? But this was the last answer, or this was the answer which he wrote into his last Samachar Manthan, right? So if you see, there is a proper objective-based introduction, there is a proper structure, then there is a use of the keyword as subheadings, right? Similarly, if you see in the same 15 marker question, his dimension coverage increased from 8 to 14. right? Similarly, there is a proper substantiation using the global institutions, using proper data, and using proper examples for substantiation. Same with the conclusion. It was brief and futuristic conclusion. So that is why it is answer writing is an art. It is not just the dumping of the information, right? So to understand the nuances of answer writing, I will be taking a webinar on 22nd of February at 7 p.m. for the aspirants who are or who will be appearing for UPSC 2026, where I will be discussing the nuances of answer writing, and I will be discussing the mindset that you require in order to think, structure, and excel into your answer writing. And in this webinar, we will be also discussing the process which you require to take your answers from the average to the topper level. And I will be also providing you the roadmap through which you can have the early start to your answer writing. So do join me on 22nd of February at 7 p.m. for the webinar. Thank you.